So our next guest here, Jana Webb. Jana currently works for the Detroit Pistons as one of their health and wellness coaches, if you will. But I came to know about Jana from her inspiring story. She's a lifelong athlete, entrepreneur, and the founder of JOGA, which is a revolutionary movement system that blends movements of yoga and sports-specific training to optimize athletic performance. What I can tell you about Jana is she is going to bravely share her story of a near fatal accident in 2016, which left her with a broken back and long-term brain injury, and how she has used that experience to move forward in the world and help so many others. I hope you enjoy this episode. I surely did as well. All right, so before I introduce our guest, she's going to take us through, can you get us grounded?
Yeah, let's do it. Are you guys sitting up straight? Good. Yeah, so first thing we want is just your head on top of your shoulders on top of your hips. Uncross your legs, feel your feet on the floor. And then, just kind of get into your rhythm. You can have your eyes open or closed, so it depends on what makes you feel more comfortable, safe. So eyes open or closed, and then you're going to bring your right hand down onto your lower belly. So your thumb's like just below your belly button. Yeah, and your pinky finger's really low down on your pubic bone. And then you're going to bring your left hand up onto your chest. And then we're just going to start with a couple really soft breaths in through the nose. So breathe in through your nostrils. And then a ha sound through the mouth. Oh, you can add some vibration to that if you want. Let's do that one more time. Take a deep inhale, breathe in. And then a big exhale, just breathe out. Nice. Now you're going to try to isolate your belly breath only. So where your right hand is, you're going to breathe into that space for a count of 3. So inhale into your belly for 1. Push your belly into your hand, 2. Take one more deep breath in, 3. Pause, hold. And then exhale, release that. Breathe out, 3. Breathe out, 2. Breathe out, 1. So try not to move your chest or shoulders. Think of blowing up a balloon in your lower belly. Inhale into your lower belly, 1. There it is, 2. Sniff in, 3. Little pause, hold. Notice your thoughts. And then come back to the breath. Breathe out for 3. Breathe out for 2. Breathe out for 1. And then one more time, just go for it. Sniff in vigorously, 1. Breathe in, 2. There it is, 3. Pause, hold. Notice the thoughts. Come back to the breath. Breathe out for 3. Breathe out for 2. Breathe out for 1. Pull your belly button into your lower back. Hold that tight. And now breathe into your chest. So breathe into those front ribs for 1. Sniff in vigorously, 2. Now all the way up to the top of your head. Sniff in one more time. Hold there. There it is. Stay. Exhale, breathe out for 3. Breathe out, 2. Breathe out, 1. Let's go full circumference now. So front rib cage, 1. Breathe there. Side ribs right under your armpits, 2. And then right between your shoulder blades. Find that back body. Yes, hold there. Stay. Notice the thoughts. Come back to the breath. Breathe out for 3. Breathe out for 2. Breathe out for 1. And now just a natural breath. We reset. Take a deep inhale. Breathe in. Let everything go. Breathe out. Nice. Now we're going to combine belly to chest. So starting with that belly breath, inhale through the nose for 1, sniff in vigorously 2, sniff in 3, keep breathing in 4, sniff in chest 5, think all the way up through to the top of your head, hold, stay in that breath hold, stay calm, notice the thoughts. Come back to the breath, breathe out 5, let everything go. 4, relax your jaw, 3, soften your ribs 2, and now start to contract. Pull your belly button into your lower back, stay empty, hold. And now we switch it, chest breath first. Move your left hand with your breath, sniff in 1. Feel your ribs extend 2, breathe in 3, lower belly 4, sniff in 5, pump your stomach 6, hold, stay, notice the thoughts. Come back to the breath, breathe out 5, breathe out 4, breathe out 3, 2, squeeze everything out, 1, stay in that breath, hold, and then take 1 deep recovery breath, deep inhale, breathe in. Big exhale, breathe out. Breathe an intention for our next however many minutes together. Breathe that in, breathe in, positive. Exhale, let everything else go, breathe out. And then one more inhale just to stay present, stay in your body, breathe in. And then let everything else go, breathe out. Hello. Namaste.
Namaste. The word I had was positive, so we're already on the same wavelength. So welcome.
Love it.
I feel different energy for the start of the Zach Clark Show with our guest, Jana Webb.
Yes.
Jana, just tell people before we roll into this, because I'm lined up with questions, a little bit about what you're doing now and JOGA, and just like lay it out there so we know what your purpose and passion and what you're doing in the world.
All right. Well, currently I'm in Las Vegas with you.
Yes.
Really excited to be here. My work right now is with the Detroit Pistons. I work in the NBA as a movement and injury prevention specialist through the modality that I created, which is JOGA. Overnight success took only about 20 years to get here, to say that story. Really making a mark in sport is what I'm trying to do, get athletes to perform at their best and keep them on the court, keep them healthy. That's my passion right now. I'm raising a 17-year-old boy right now who's going to college, so that's obviously a lot of effort and where a lot of my love goes. And other than that, that's it, trying to take care of myself in between all that. So my work, my son, myself, and then here today with you guys.
Others. You just took care of me. That was an amazing breathwork session.
Thank you.
Off the episode. We practice honesty around here.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
You're from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Canadians in my life, and they love hockey. Hoops or hockey?
Oh, I have to be honest. It's always going to be hockey first. Yeah.
Okay.
It has to be. Yeah. I mean, my son plays hockey. My brothers, I grew up watching hockey. I grew up in the rink. The rink is like my family's church. We get together at the hockey rink still to this day. Like every day before Christmas or Boxing Day or the day after, we still get together as a family and we play hockey. Every single cousin, family member has an ice rink in their backyard. This is what we do. Yeah.
Yeah, my friend Blake is from Hamilton, Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's I met him actually through TV, through The Bachelorette, but I'll be talking to him at 9:00 and he's on his way to the rink.
Yeah.
To go play with the boys, for 2 hours. It's a way of life. It's very cool.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I love it because, my son plays it as well. I actually worked in hockey. I worked in the NHL for 5 or 6 years. And I just like the hockey culture. It's, really small town. It's very Canadian. There's just something about the sport and the physicality of it. And I love basketball and I love football, but to do all of that on skates is like just a different level of expertise, right?
Did you see that tweet meme that was going around talking about the All-Star game, comparing it to the hockey exhibition?
Well, I didn't, but I kind of heard about it.
The quote was like, I'd die for this game, the hockey player said that, and then everyone's sort of lambasting the NBA. The players don't care. The All-Star weekend is garbage. And they were just noticing the difference in culture, saying, why don't these dudes care?
Right.
And these hockey guys who, don't have anywhere the degree of fame are out there literally fighting within the first 10 seconds.
Yeah. And you know what? I will say that I've had to adapt to training basketball players over hockey players. Like hockey players, they just come to work, and they're like workers. The league, the NBA, we all know it. It's a very, the players run the show.
Yeah.
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 It's like I have to trick them to work with me.
Really?
I think there's change happening, though. We're going to get into all that. I do. I think that more and more athletes, professionals, high achievers are recognizing the importance of the work that you do, right? And we don't have to grab a pill for every feeling, thought, thing that we have. There's other God-given natural remedies to get through a stressful moment or an anxious moment, which you just did for me at the beginning of this.
Yeah. And that's kind of where all this started from. My brothers played hockey, and I saw my brothers go through this, level of stress. In fact, one of my brothers played in the WHL at the time, and a coach told him to go out on the ice and hurt a hockey player so that hockey player could never play hockey again. Wow. And, of course, he didn't do it. I mean, my brother was a grinder. Like, he's in the corner hitting guys, tough player. But he didn't do it, and that coach ended up benching him. It kind of ruined his entire career. And then after that, he got insomnia. He went through a year of like not sleeping.
Wow.
And so I kind of watched like the mental destruction that happens in sport. And now that I've been in it for 20 years, you know, I really try to see obviously the human in every player that I work with. And it stemmed from watching what my brothers went through, that trauma, and now giving these athletes, really just treating them like humans. There's so much expectation from them, and they really just need these tools to stay true to themselves and not always having to be at that level of like, you know, productivity all of the time. Yeah.
No, you mentioned the word trauma, and it's hard to not acknowledge the energy that you carry. When I walked into the room, I just felt this positivity, this smile, this brightness, this light. Like it truly, like I felt it. And there's several humans in my orbit that kind of carry that aura. But it hasn't always been like that. And I am someone, so you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you joked, you know, the 20-year overnight success. And I relate to that because, look, at 27 years old, I had a needle in my arm, you know, and I was, you know, to live or to die was really the question. And I took that experience and got cleaned up and have built a whole life from it, have built a career from it, have really like leaned into my purpose and passion. And for you, there was this car accident, right? I mean, that's really this moment in your life. Can you talk a little bit about that, what that did to form who you are today, and let the listeners in on that experience?
Yeah. And it's interesting because it was 8 years ago and I couldn't talk about it for about 4 years.
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, it just, I think what happened in that accident, there was so much pain associated, like physical pain. And I'll never forget that pain. I got hit by, you know, a cement truck head on. And so it took a while to have the courage just to even talk, because you know how trauma works is like, even if you think about it, it kind of relives in your body.
Yep.
And so I had to get over some huge steps just to first be able to talk about it. But now I'm in a better place because I've done a lot of healing, to be able to have a conversation about it. And, you know, Janelle and I were just on the phone and we were having a meeting.
Shout out Janelle.
Yeah,
in the room with us. What's up?
Janelle's always here. I always say hi to her on my podcast. I'm like,
That's
"Hi,
good. You're a
Janelle."
safe person.
Yes.
We all need safe people.
Yes. But, you know, she's been a part of my story the whole time. And today we're just talking about, you know, a book that we're working on and like what is the essence of the book. And, you know, I said in the meeting today, I was like, well, I have to talk about how this program, this thing that I created saved my life. And because of the core stability and because I was strong going into this accident is 1000% why I'm walking today, and by the grace of God. But two, the mental durability and everything that I had to do post-accident to get through to the other side is where all the work happened, like the breath work, the meditation, because I couldn't move my body how I used to. And so for those of you who obviously don't know me listening on the show, the accident was 2016. I was down in Dominican working in baseball at the time.
With like high performers, working with athletes.
Working with athletes. I was, you know, working with the Blue Jays at the time, and a lot of them live in the Dominican. And so I was invited to work down there with their club team, done my contract on the way to the airport. So between Santo Domingo and Punta Cana is one of the most dangerous highways in the world. I didn't know that. And, you know, we're just 10 o'clock in the morning going to the airport, and a drunk driver in a cement truck pulled out right in front of us, and we like T-boned him head on. And, you know, it was kind of interesting. And this part of the story I always have to tell because it always goes back to my son. That trip, I took a picture, and it's still on my Instagram. And he was only 9 at the time, and he was.
What's your son's name?
William.
Will.
Okay.
My middle name's William. I love that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
But he likes to be called Will.
Yeah.
I took a picture of him sleeping, and he looked like a little cherub on the pillow. And I said, "Bye, angel." And when the accident happened, and I thought I was going to die, I closed my eyes, and I saw his little cherub face, and I was like, "Please, God, just take care of Will." And I thought I was going to die. And then what happened? The car accident happened. I felt all this pain in my body. There's obviously a few moments I don't remember, but then I remember taking a breath, and I was like, and I was like, okay, I'm here, I'm alive. And so it's interesting because the breath, everything that I do now, it all kind of circles back to that moment, even though in that moment you don't know what anything is about. There's that trauma that happened in that one singular moment. It's like I remember everything, but I don't remember anything.
Were you aware of your breath prior to this accident? Like, was that something you were practicing?
Yeah, for sure. Because I created yoga almost 20 years ago, and the accident was only 8 years ago. But it's changed. Do you know what I mean? Like I created yoga because I thought there was something missing in the world of high performance and, reinvented it. But this accident is where all the work kind of came into place. And, I have another story to tell about that afterwards, but short of long is it's been 8 years. I couldn't move. It was all the things. I broke my back in 3 places. Wow. And then the longest injury was a brain injury. So I had a brain injury for many years. Like I still deal with different things. When I'm talking to you, I'm really concentrating on getting my words out in the right order. I had to do a lot of neuroplasticity. Thank you.
I had a brain tumor too. So we had a little,
Seriously? Oh my God. So your brain's like jambalaya. Like I remember everything was mixed up. Like I didn't really know who anybody was. I had names, stories, locations. Everything was just jambalaya. But I thought I was like making perfect sense.
I remember when I was so I don't know if they had you do this, but I had the surgery. I was 23 or 25, 41 now.
Yeah.
So this is a long time ago, but they don't really, doctors are hilarious because they're really good at what they do, but they don't really explain much, right? So I'm coming out of the surgery and I start to kind of learn, like you start like one step up, one step down. And then they took me into this, they're like, we're going to do occupational therapy. And they had 2 pieces of bread, a stick of butter, and a piece of cheese. And they're like, can you make a grilled cheese? And I remember being so scared.
Yeah.
So I was like,
what?
I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
And then they're like having me play memory, and I would like flip over the rock and then try to remember where and it's really humbling. It was really humbling.
It's funny that you say that because I had 2 experiences when I was working with the guy who did all my neurology. He would be like, hey, you have to like step on this little step up thing with 1 foot, lift 1 foot up, and then follow my thumb, because he was kind of trying to retrain my brain. And I remember just being overwhelmed, started vomiting. Like it was just, I couldn't even, like the simplest task that he was asking me to do, it was overwhelming. And then to your point, then I had to do all the things where you cognitive stuff, where they bring you out a piece of paper and you had to like put things in the right order. And like, I remember looking at it and just crying. I was like, I can't, because pictures of probably like apples and oranges and bananas, and you had to like put them in some, you know what I mean? Something so simple.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming.
What was your prognosis at the time?
So because it was concussion, like it was full on concussion, but I didn't hit my head, which I've learned now, neck flexion, especially in women, because the nape of our neck, so there's more room for the neck to flex. And so basically I had a severe concussion, and then later I had an MRI and they found like a laceration in my brain. And so then that injury took long, because think of like a laceration in your kidney or something, it takes forever to heal. And so I couldn't do anything where I could hit my head for years, like 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And then finally, I mean, I don't think it's 100%, but I think I'm where I'm at. I don't know.
You seem 100% to me, if not more. Like it feels like you're operating at a pretty high level.
Thank you.
But did you, and if this is too personal, that's fine, but obviously this is a traumatic experience. And did you do a lot of work like clinically around the trauma? Did you have to engage with a therapist? Is that part of your story, or did you really utilize some of the tools that you already knew?
A little bit of both. I mean, at first I just got frustrated because I felt like the people that I was working with weren't getting what was wrong with me. I was like, I'm puking all of the time. Like nobody understood how the brain injury, like, because I looked fine. If my face was all cut up and I lost a limb, I would have probably had a different response, but people are just like, you're fine. I was like, I'm not fine. Like something is really wrong with me, because I knew I wasn't myself. And my personality changed. I was so angry. I had like no fuse, like everything hurt, like light, sound. Like it was like I was in this vortex that I couldn't feel my body. I don't know how, and I couldn't explain that to anybody. And because I looked fine, so I just got frustrated. I think.
Well, there's almost like are people believing me, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah. Yeah, they're like, you're fine. I'm like, I'm not fine. Something's really wrong with me. Like, I can't function.
Does anyone say like, hey, do you want to talk to a therapist, a mental health specialist?
Yeah, they prescribed like mental health, but then they started talking about my childhood, and I was like, this has nothing to do with my childhood. I was hit by a cement truck. Like, there's something wrong with my brain. Yeah. And then finally, I met this Dr. Dan Demian, and he is the one that like saved me. And he works actually in the NHL. He works with hockey players who get hit. He's a concussion specialist.
Yeah.
And so I met him, and he changed my whole world. I worked with him for 3 years, and we did a ton of neuroplasticity work. He's the one that reprogrammed my whole brain, and he's the one that when I puked because he was moving his thumb too fast, understood exactly why. And so he saved me 1,000.
So
I mean, I saved myself.
Or whatever he was doing.
What's that?
No, with like brain spotting almost. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knew exactly from where my eyes were tracking, where I was blocked, and he could like reprogram it. It was pretty amazing, actually. But I think the thing where we gelled was he understood my work, and so he's like, the breathing, like, and that's where the meditation. And what I'm going to do tomorrow, actually, I'm doing a sound meditation with the group tomorrow, because there's a lot of healing qualities with sound therapy. And he was the one, you're chanting is kind of the best thing you can do, because it involves your enteric nervous system, which is connecting your gut to your brain, right? And so he's like, when you chant like Om, it starts in your belly, you feel it, and it goes up to your third eye. And so I started to kind of do the chakra meditation that I learned like over 20 years ago in Japan, and started using that as a healing modality. Yeah.
So I read that you studied yoga in Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you get there
Oh,
from
Jesus.
Toronto?
That's a whole different show.
I want to hear it then.
Well, no, it's interesting. Two things happened. I got married back then.
Okay.
So there's that. And then I always had this fascination with Japanese culture, and I had just graduated from school. And at that time, I was working in television, actually. I used to host TV shows. Like, I worked on TV for years. I went to school for film and dancing and all of that.
Yeah.
And then got a job right away and was doing that. And then I remember I was in, I think, Jamaica or something, and I had this Russian co-host, and we were like getting ready or something, and she's doing all the beauty things, and I'm like throwing my hair in and the producers are like, okay, Olga, we've got you, for the sunset bikini, shot. Jana, you're doing sky. Like, I was always like, our roles became pretty clear really quickly.
You were jumping out of planes.
You're in the forest.
And I remember doing the show, and I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, "Is this it?" Like, I didn't feel any gratification.
We all have those moments. Like, is this all life is?
Yeah, and people would be like, "Are you kidding me? You're traveling around the world. You're on TV. Like, you've got your dream job." And I was like, "But do I?" And so I ended up not doing the show. I got married, and I said to my husband at the time, "Let's move to Japan and go teach English as a second language." So, I mean, kudos to my ex-husband. He was like, "Okay," like I'll give him that. Like, we did move over there. We had a great experience, and while we were over there, I had just got introduced to yoga while I was in school, and
what year was this?
Oh my gosh! So, this is going to be hard for my brain, but let's think 28 years ago.
28 years ago. Okay.
Oh my God! How did we get here?
I asked myself, like, me and my buddies, my best friends in life are my high school friends.
Yeah.
And so I'm 41, and so it was 23 years ago. I was in high school. I'm like, I have had those moments recently, and you know what? I like growing up.
Wait. 20.
Was it in the 90s?
4 years ago.
Was it in the 90s?
Early 2000s.
25, 35, 45, 20, 25.
Yeah. We'll round up. 20
But I'm asking because like you were. But like yoga's become such a fad. I feel like everyone, and like back then it was like you were really ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened? So I went to Japan. My body was craving yoga. So I looked up English speaking yoga class. And of course we're living in Chiba Prefecture, which is like an hour train ride. I'm overwhelmed by the trains, everything. But I find it in the English speaking community. What's it called? Expat community or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I get on a train, crying, it's so confusing. And then I get on the wrong train. And if you get on the wrong wrong train in Japan, like you're hooped because like you'll end up in like, you know, Kyoto or something.
Yeah.
So I finally get there, and this lovely, this woman named Carolyn, she opens the door and she's like, hello there. And I was like, oh, you speak English. And like I started crying because like the adventure of getting there was just so profound. And I came to do this class. And she's like, oh, it's been canceled. And I was like, no. I was like, but I came from here to do this. And she's like, and she explained why. And she's like, we're doing a certification. And I was like, what kind of certification? And she explained the Ishta yoga piece, which is what I'm certified in. I was like now? And she's like, starting today? And I was like, yeah. And I signed up on the spot. I spent like $10,000.
That's
and
awesome.
I just signed out. And I came home. And my husband's like, what did you do? Like, we're here to make money and like save for a house. And I'm like, oh, well, I just signed up for a $10,000 yoga certification that I'm going to be doing every single day while we're here.
Wow.
I love that. I mean, like I'm like a sucker for the cheesy like Instagram quotes or like whatever. Like they'll get me every once in a while. And I read one the other day. It was basically just like kind of like that. Like the person who is willing to like stop talking and like take the action and be consistent with it is the person that you got to watch out for. Like they're the person that's going to go out and do big things, and that's what you did in that moment, which I love that.
Yeah, just pivoted, and then there I am. And then when I started, literally like day one, they give you information and it's all in Sanskrit, plus you have a translator, Japanese, English. I was literally able to take the information, spit it out, get a body, teach it, and I was like, oh my God, this is flowing. Like I felt like in that moment, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I just knew that I needed to be doing that. I needed to be working with people. You know, my sister always said like I was a healer. She's like, when I used to like give her massages, and you know, just my energy was always like a healing energy. And then I was in that moment, I was like, this is what I got to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. No, please.
Were you always like sort of like a free? Was that of character? So they'll be like, I'm signing up and I'm like completely going 180 here? Or were you always like that growing up in terms of just like a free-spirited, like I'm just going where I need to go?
It's a really interesting question, and I think about this more as I get older. It's my parents always said they could give us two things, roots and wings. And so I'm rooted in a culture of farming. I grew up in a very small town, and it was like you don't get to go play ringette, do any of your sports until the chores are done. So you're up doing chores.
Hold on,
what
is
ringette? What is ringette? What is ringette?
So hockey without a blade. It's just a stick and a ring. So same kind of rules, but you have to pass between the blue lines. So we don't have offside. You just have to pass the ring
It's just
around.
a stub?
It's like a long stick. It looks like a hockey stick without the blade. Yeah, it's like a stub. And you have to get the stick in the hole and take the ring and pass it like you would in hockey. Yeah.
Is there like a national ringette
league?
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Up in Canada there is.
Why isn't this in the Olympics?
Yeah, good question. I don't have no, I
You
guess
start
it's not
that.
that popular.
Okay. I mean, curling.
What is ringette?
Why not ringette?
That's so funny.
All right, 2025 goal, Jay. We're gonna go
we
play
start a ringette. You know.
No, we'll do it. We'll do it. We're gonna hit Jana up, and next time she's in New York, we're gonna play ringette.
I'm down. I feel I could do that.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
Roots and wings.
Roots and wings. So rooted in that culture of like family and working and hard work. And I didn't know Sunday, Monday, like in our world, in my dad's world, farming, you work till the work's done. And so I think that's where I get the entrepreneurial spirit is from my dad, because it was just, he was working for himself all of the time and working hard. And I didn't know anything other than that. And then when it came time to leave the house at 17, you know, I had all these different opportunities to go to college. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm 17. And my mom's like, you can go do whatever you want to do. I was like, oh, that's what a concept. You can do whatever you want to do.
That's great parenting.
Right? It was really good parenting. They gave me so many, like all the morals and values and like that
like,
deep,
go do what you want to do.
Go do it, but go do what you want to do.
Like, I don't think we hear that enough as humans.
Right. And just like figure it out. And like, did I get to where I am now? Probably through a lot more hardships and, you know what I mean? A lot of hard experiences and ups and down, yeah, for sure. But like, I wouldn't trade any of it in. I had to make just decisions along the way that I felt were intuitive. So am I free-spirited? For sure. I'm not afraid to pivot like that and just follow like my heart and follow what makes me feel good. And I think we lose that, you know, even working in the NBA for the last, you know, couple years. And Janelle always reminds me, she's like, just continue to be you, like continue to, remind yourself of your purpose, what you're doing, because
it's working.
Because it's still corporate. Then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still corporate. And I don't really do well in those environments necessarily, because I feel like I'm being held in a cage rather than doing what it is that I'm supposed to be doing sometimes. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean, like it's crazy how much I'm relating to you, and I feel like, so much of our stories are rooted in, recovery, right? Like getting this like idea of like getting sober, and then when you get sober, it's like there's this pressure from the world to be a certain way and like be this like polished human. And there's been periods in my sobriety where, just like you just talked about, where I've lost my confidence or lost myself, and it's all right here. Like you just feel it, and then I start acting out on that. Like I'll get moody, or I'll like push people away, and then it's all right, time to get back into the work, and that's the tough part.
Yeah, it always is. Yeah.
Can we break down my breathwork session at the beginning?
Yeah.
What do you feel? What did you feel right after that?
So I felt a sense of peace and calm for sure. I was embarrassed at first because I know the benefits of the breath. I've gone on the retreats. I've practiced yoga.
Yeah.
But my first thought was, I don't know the last time I paid attention to my breath.
Oh, interesting.
Which to me tells me I'm running way too hard.
Yeah.
And running way too fast. And then the second thought I had was, I'm going to do this wrong. I'm going to do this wrong.
And then I called you
like,
out.
I'm going to breathe wrong, which is like, I'm going to.
And you get anxiety around.
And then so like, you're like telling me like stomach out and like,
And
and I'm
kept-
just, and I'm like thinking like, all right, but like all I really have to do is just like
breathe.
do it.
Yeah, yeah. But it sounds so easy, but it's actually really complicated, and it's really difficult for people to do. Yeah, it really is. And yeah,
I was an actor in a former life.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time like doing breath work, yoga, and realizing that, and I forget a teacher I had, basically it was like 99% of people walk around breathing wrong.
Right.
Because they're breathing here and like not here,
Exactly,
and like this is where your power is, especially as an actor, to be in the moment, the flow, all that. So I was keenly aware of that, and it changed my life, especially because I was an athlete. Think about how much you're running, exerting, you're holding your breath, and I'm sure that's a huge part of what you do with the athletes you work with. After that, what you took us through, the thing that I felt a sense of, I don't need to do anything, like just could flow. And I'm still incredibly aware of my back against my chair. And it's just a reminder, like we go through life not really feeling and experiencing the world that is right around us. If like when you say feel your feet on the ground, I mean like my feet are always on the ground. Am I aware of that?
Right.
No.
Right.
I'm just running. So, I mean, that's why I wanted to do that selfishly, because I knew that we would feel
grounded.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you start?
What's that with the
Where do
breath?
you, like with me, like not like I'm someone that's had a practice over the years, but has clearly lost that, right? And I spent a good deal of time working in behavioral healthcare, which we're here. You're speaking at our conference tomorrow, which we're so grateful for. And the thought there is we're bringing in experts from outside of our field to come infuse our people with the tools that you offer.
Yeah.
And part of the reason you're here is like, we as society, I believe, are always reaching for something. Like we're reaching for the pill or the drink or the piece of cake or we're in Vegas, like the bet or for me, it's running. Like that's my like high.
Yeah. Like physically running?
Yeah.
Not mentally. Okay,
I'm a
running.
runner.
Okay,
Like and like there's mornings that I can't do my day until I run.
Yeah.
Which I know is like.
Yeah, but it's meditative though, so there's lots of things around that.
So I think for the listeners, like we do try, and that's my other thing is there's a lot of people out there talking about mental health, behavioral health care, just like health in general.
Yeah.
And so I want to give the people something like where do you start with someone?
Well, even just what we just did, that belly chest breathing, and it's interesting because you were in your chest and I was like, move it down into your belly, which is really common for most people because they are chest breathers. But just to give you some of the science behind it, because I think it's important to understand that part of it. So when you chest breathe, like if you think of somebody who's having an asthma attack or an anxiety attack, guess where their breath is? It's in their chest, right? So the breath is really shortened. And so what happens is when you're inhaling, right, the space around your heart is really closed off. And so your heart rate has to speed up to pump blood to, into this closed off space. Whereas when you belly breathe, right, your diaphragm, which sits, above your stomach and below your ribs, when you belly breathe, basically you create all this space in your lungs, right? So all of a sudden there's more room for the blood to move, so the heart rate slows down. And so just even like for people who have asthma or who have anxiety or, you can just take a belly breath and completely offset that sympathetic nervous response, what happens when you're chest breathing. Because if you think about it, chest breathing, panting, all of that are signs of sympathetic nervous system mayhem, which is where you blood flow constrictions, pupils small, it's fight or flight, right? Yeah. And most of us in our day-to-day are living in fight or flight. For example, you guys were both just started in your chest breath because you're at a conference, you've had no sleep, you haven't eaten, right? You're in that state right now. And so is the rest of the world. And, a big piece of what I try to educate is just that simple tool of just, one, acknowledging that your breath is available at any time, and two, just by taking one belly breath, you can completely offset that stress response, right? And the other piece of science behind that is when you belly breathe, you activate what's called the vagus nerve. Have you heard of this obviously before in your work?
Just from going to like there's this place called the Bathhouse in New York City.
Yes, I went there the last time I was there.
It's amazing.
I love it there.
Yeah, and they do what is it?
The breath.
Aufguss.
Yeah,
in the ceremony.
In the sauna.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I love
like acting like
Yeah.
like everyone's getting all primal in there.
Yeah. But it's science. And so the vagal nerve moves through your spine and connects to the right side of your brain, and the right side of your brain is what elicits the relaxation response. And so there's all this science around just taking belly breaths, longer exhales and inhales for the reasons that I just talked about. And that activates the right side of your brain, whereas your chest breath, which we still need, activates the left side of your brain. So think of your belly as your parasympathetic nervous system and your chest as your sympathetic nervous system. In sport, for the work that I do, the athletes need both, right? They need to be in that, that fight or flight mode to want to go get the ball and like be motivated to do it, but they also, it's like calm and clarity at the same time, right? The second piece about breathing, which is really cool, which I always start with, is it indicates lots of pain in the body. So if somebody's restricted in their breath, if I've got them on their back and they literally don't have to do anything but lie there, it shows different dysfunction in the spine. And then that gives me a starting place of where to work into programming, right? If somebody can't take a belly breath, is it because their lower back is sore? Are they holding tension there? Is it pain in the lower back? If they can't breathe into their upper shoulders or the back, is it something to do with their shoulders mechanics? So it gives so much information about where people are holding pain. It gives so much information about where they're at in their mind. Yeah. And it's all kind of, I say like a lot of my programming is spinach in the chocolate cake. It's like, I'm just getting them to breathe, but I'm getting so much information, but I'm not talking anything about psychology or me, like, you know what I mean? Coming in and saying, I know you're stressed, I know you have pain. It's just annoying because the breath is giving me so much information. Yeah, so I mean the breathing, I mean we could talk about breath work all day long, but it's a really powerful tool, and I always say it's functional. Like for my athletes that are about to take a free throw, any player that I train, you will watch them go up to the free throw line. They take their breath, the ha mechanic, which I'll explain tomorrow in the workshop, which is really cool, and they take their free throw because it already that brings them into that place of calm and clarity, right? In traffic, for a normal human, what do you do when you're getting cut off, or you're walking down the street and everyone's pacing? New York, you guys live there. Like these are functional tools that people need in their tool belt just to have for themselves to find some.
Well, it feels like control.
Control
like
of yourself.
I'm about to, and I'm holding it. And I can control it for a second. Do you?
I mean, I'm like having a little bit of a spiritual experience right now.
Well, that's why I want to do it.
I just like I don't know how to say it, but I'm feeling like this is one of those conversations that, and like no bullshit, not front, like I'm a pretty straightforward guy, but like just like this tool is right here for everyone, and it's just to breathe.
It's just to breathe. Yeah.
And like I know enough to like if I'm in a moment, like I'll do like a big like nose, like But even that sometimes feels like it's like hitting right in my chest, and it's making me almost like more anxious.
And exactly, and that's exactly what you don't want.
Oh God.
So like when someone comes to you, you know, an athlete in the NBA, and they come to you and they're like, all right, I'm gonna, you know, so and so told me, like, what is the process, and like, what do you hope to see change by the end? You know, like, I mean, can you give an example of even someone that you've seen the progress? I mean, I know there was Kevin Looney.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that story, because it is just a hallmark for the program and what we've created, and his whole life has changed because of it, right? And so with somebody like him, you know, we got information, you know, that he was coming out of a surgery and just wasn't going to play the same. And so, you know, we were kind of, I think, one of the last options. Like, he had been to the Mayo Clinic, they've done all these different things, and they're like, hey, we've heard about her work. I was working with Brooklyn Nets at the time, and through different relationships, they're like, you need to see Jana. And so I started to work with him.
Was Ben Simmons on the Nets when you were working there?
No, but he is now.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I was going to go somewhere.
No,
Never mind.
Sorry.
You're not going to get that answer in this conversation.
I've only worked with him one time.
Yeah.
So, you know, the work with him at first was physical with Kavan, but, you know, it's become all of it, you know, but the first thing with athletes, unfortunately, is I need to get a kinesthetic response first, because athletes are tangible learners. They're kinesthetic. If they don't feel something that makes them feel like an athlete, as much as the breathing is good, as much as the meditation is good, we can't get there on day one. And so if I see an athlete for the first time, I show them something biomechanically, physically in their body that they've never felt before. So I teach them different neuromechanic, biomechanic features about their body, to feel their core in a different way, to feel their foot in a different way, to feel their body in a different way. So they're like, how in 27 years have I never been taught this before?
Right.
And so that's kind of my gift that very first session. And I know if I can get a kinesthetic response and they feel their body in a different way, I'll get them the second day, in which then I start to weave in the breath work and the meditation. And over time, they get the whole program, but it takes a long time. It takes a year or two to get there.
Wow.
Yeah, it takes a long time. It's a slow burn, but I preface it by that. I said, the work that we're going to do here is hard. It's tough, because it's forcing you to stay in your body. When they go on treatments, they're on their table, they're on their phone, they're, you know what I mean? They're so disconnected from themselves. And so a lot of it is taxing on their nervous system. Even if the session is 20 minutes and I'm getting them to feel their foot, lift their pelvic floor, breathe, think about this, see this, it's like, they're like, this is so much, but I have to do that. I always talk about high beta thinkers. Most high functioning people are high beta. And so I have to get that athlete to buy into what I'm doing, I need to have a high beta program, which means I am cueing all of the time, so that if you work with me, you can't be thinking about lunch. You can't be thinking about Instagram. You have to be in your body. And I'm putting you in these positions that are challenging for balance and challenging for your musculoskeletal system, so that you have to be in your body, else you're going to fall over, right? And so the whole program is designed to keep people in their bodies, whether it's a physical cue or you're thinking about your breath or your eyes are looking somewhere. And then that's where the magic happens, because then all of a sudden these athletes build this sense of awareness. They get to be in their body, and this is what gives them that edge. It takes these, you know, these athletes they're amazing. Yeah. Like, I'm working with such a small percentage of the population and making them better. And Janelle and I talk about this all the time. We're like, if we can do this with professional sports and the best athletes in the world, what can we do for the normal person? It's kind of profound, right? Like, we could change so many lives with this program. It's really exciting.
Have you done any work in substance abuse or mental health or behavioral health care? Is that something that you've tapped into or you've been asked to tap into? Or?
You know, no, I will say, when I was going through my own rehab, like, and I was, you know, working through my own stuff, through different conversations, I did some stuff for CAMH up in Toronto.
Yeah.
Like, I did a lot of their events and did a lot of breath work and meditation. And then over the pandemic, I did a lot of stuff on Zoom, you know, in that space. And a lot of it, just even though it wasn't, you know, anything related specifically to your field, but just for mental health in general, for everybody's mental health. But specifically, I'll say no to that. But I understand
I mean, isn't this mental health? I mean,
it is mental health.
You're
it's
changing, you know, behavior and mood. I mean, like, I don't see how it's not.
Yeah. It's all the same. But, you know, if you ask me the question, have you ever, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
the answer is
I
probably
think it's
no.
an interesting thing for me, because I feel like we're always, like, how do you enhance a program? How do you enhance an experience? How do you really bring value to your patient, to your client, to whoever it is that you're working for with? And I'm always like looking for the latest and greatest. Like, and you know, like I would say, for me, the breathwork probably came onto my radar like probably 5 or 6 years ago. Like I was like, it felt like very like social media was like all over it, and people were. And now there's a lot of the cold plunge and sauna stuff going on, which is like, you know, I get it, but
what do you think about that?
I think I think anything that people do to be better is great. Like, I'm never going to, you know what I mean? Like, if I love it for myself. Actually, when I was doing my own rehab, the cold therapy for me was the thing that made my brain feel the best, to be honest, and the breath work. So I love it for myself. I love it for other people. I mean, it's health. It can't be bad. People feel better when they're doing it. It puts people, you know, in a different framework. So, and you know, Robbie, we talked about the other ship in New York and that whole story. So if it gives people, you know, something else to do, I think it's amazing. Yeah.
So, somewhat like, so do you have people teaching, like, so JOGA, right, is how you say it? Yeah, same as yoga with a J.
Yeah, it came from Yoga for Jocks, not my name, just to be clear.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The story of how the name was created is actually really cool.
Tell it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was working in
Come on.
Do you guys know what the CFL is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Canadian Football League. Oh, yeah, you're a Seahawks fan. So, yeah, so that's kind of was my first kick at the can in pro sports, and I was working consecutively or consistently with the quarterback, and you know, he was like, you have to call this something. Like, he had the best year of his career. He played probably an extra 7 years, he says, because of the program that we did. And he's like, it's not Pilates, it's not stretching, it's not yoga. And he was like, what about JOGA? And I was like, what? And he's like, Yoga for Jocks. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So he went to the locker room next day. He's like, hey guys, like we're doing JOGA, and it just kind of stuck. Like,
amazing.
Again, reactionary. Like, I didn't have this plan to create this, and so that's where it all started. And then
Is he still around? Do you still talk to this guy?
Oh yeah, he works in the NFL now, and he's always just like, keep killing it, and yeah, he's a huge part of this story. Yeah.
See, that's one of those things. You went with it.
I just went with it.
The name came, and you just and now you've built a whole
and then
thing
I started to teach it, and then I tried to get out of it because there was no money in it. I was like schlepping around I had a baby somewhere in there. I was schlepping around Will in a little car seat. I'm going to the football field with my son. Like, I'm breastfeeding. I'm like, my boobs are leaking. I'm like, I have to like do this and then feed my kid in the car. Like, this is real. This is really what happened. And I was making like $35 a class, and it took me like an hour to get there. Taught for it was like you know what I mean? And I was like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And so I kept trying to get out of it. And so I eventually tried to get back into TV, or I did get back into TV. And Shauna, who was my publicist at the time, she's like, you need to teach. She's like, this is what your gift. She did my class in Calgary back in the day, and she's like, yeah, this is your gift. You need to do this. She's like, I'll get you on TV. And so I ended up getting back on TV doing what I'm doing, which is kind of the irony of all of it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But is this when you went on Real Housewives of Toronto?
Oh, I knew you were going to
bring that up. I was like, I'm gonna bring it.
His question, not mine. I have like reality television. I don't ever go the reality television thing because I did the reality television.
Well, there's that. We can talk about that. You know,
trauma bonding.
There's some trauma bonding. I don't know how you feel about that.
You know, I did it. I remember the producers calling me about that show, and I was watching my son play baseball, and I was so busy. I'm a single mom. I'm trying to build this thing. I'm running around in sports, and I literally was like, I do not have time to even take this call. And they kept calling, and I was like, okay, I will take one interview. So we do one interview. Raptors are in playoffs. I'm like looking at my clock the whole time. We're on a Zoom or whatever it was back there, some sort of web conferencing, and they're all in Vancouver, and there's like 10 of them and me, and I'm like dressed like ready to go train players. And they're like, what's your favorite handbag? And I was like, I was sponsored by Under Armour at the time, so I was like, I don't know, like Under Armour. Everything was about like, they're like, what's your net worth? And I was like, net worth? I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur. I have no money. Right. I'm like, I have nothing. What are you talking about? And so then I was like, and I got to go. The Raps are in playoffs. And I just kind of closed my computer down. And then they kept calling. And the more that I said no, the more, they were interested.
Valuable life lesson.
Yeah, right?
Make 'em want you.
Well, and then, once I actually met the main producer and sat down with him and kind of learned about what the show was, and it was a Bravo contract, I was like, oh, this might be something really big, and this could be something that helps me propel my my brand.
Yeah.
And so I did it 1,000% for brand recognition. That's the only reason I did it, and I don't feel bad saying that because
That's honest.
I told that to the producers. I said, if I can build my JOGA brand while I'm doing this, I'm all in. And that's what I did.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I just have one more question. I know we're going to wrap up soon, but like if, you talked about how breath could change the world outside of, like what do you think? Like this is a broader question, and I don't need politics or anything like that, although we can talk about it if you want. But,
no, I'm good not to.
Like how do you think breath on an individual growing into a larger thing could help people in a broader sense?
Yeah, I always say it can't be siloed. It needs to be partnered with everything else in our human system. And so that's really my work, is to educate people on the entire human system. The breath, the respiratory system is only one piece of it, but it's kind of the foundation, because once you breathe, then the blood moves through your body, then you optimize the circulatory system, then you optimize from blood moving more efficiently through your body into your muscle fibers, then you enhance your musculoskeletal system. Then by moving and breathing, you optimize your lymphatic system. And you have to go through all these steps. And so I talk about the human system more than I do one thing of it, because it all really needs to work synergistically together to create efficacy and efficiency. Like I work in a space where sometimes I have 5 minutes to create a physiological result in the body, like for an athlete that's about to go on court and perform at a very high level. And so for that to happen, for that result to happen, you have to understand the entire human body to create the response that you're trying to get. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so the breath is one piece of it, but you can't just sit there and breathe your whole life. Like we still have to live life. Like you still have to move and talk and work, and so it's all about taking those tools and adapting them for real life in real time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, it's more about educating the breath, but also all the other pieces of this amazing thing that we have. Our bodies, and this is really my messaging for tomorrow. It's about accountability, and it needs to be about accountability. I survived this car accident, and I was like, this is now my job, is to go out and hold people accountable. If you can move at free will, you have an accountability to yourself to take care of this thing that you have. Right? To be strong mentally, physically, and emotionally, because shit is going to happen.
Yeah.
And when shit happens, you need to be able to rely on yourself to move through it. And that's facts. That's life. Life isn't always good.
I'm excited for. I mean, there's a lot of really well-known programs here. There's a lot of like treatment. Like I'm curious to see the response, because I'm sure people are going to want to like contract you and bring you, because
I hope so.
It's not. Yeah, me too.
Imagine how.
We're all, no, like I'm serious, because it's like, look, I love doctors, I love psychologists, I love therapists. Those types of people save my life. But I am also a believer in, like, my favorite workout is a run, because I have this weird thing in my mind, like I don't need a gym or anything but a pair of shoes and an outfit to go physically exhaust my body.
Yeah.
And so there's something very beautiful that's not like man-made, right, about this breath work, that I'm excited for a room full of people like looking for the latest and greatest, and like whatever it is.
Oh, and I'm making them move tomorrow. I don't care if there's chairs or not.
Yeah,
We're
no,
standing
no,
up.
they need it. They need it.
We
They
need
need
to
it.
move, because a lot of this is about like movement, right?
Yes.
Like the breath has to move through your body. So for that to happen, you need to move your body.
Right.
Like it's like I'm a like when I like I don't know. I go into this zone. I'm a little bit bossy. Like I don't know how it's going to showcase tomorrow, but we'll see.
No, we need bossy to a certain degree. It's all, I mean, it's rooted in love. Like
Yeah,
I don't
it
think
is.
you could be bossy if you tried. If I'm
No,
being
and then I
honest.
smile and make a joke, and we're all good.
Right.
So,
I'm
but
excited.
super inspiring
Yeah.
story, and definitely
you.
like selfishly helped me. So,
Amazing.
And what now are you doing? I mean, what last thing? Like,
Yeah.
what do you like? What any plans?
Yeah, what's next? What's next for you?
Yeah, it's to continue my work in the NBA, and where I'm really trying to make a movement in the space. This is, probably one of the first and only ever contracts for this type of work in the NBA, and it's taken so long to get here, but I feel like the world of sport is ready for this type of work. I feel like the athletes are finally ready for this type of work. 20 years ago, I tried to sell the Detroit Lions on prevention and breath work and meditation. They're like, you're crazy, like literally, you're crazy, like close the door in my face. To now this space where I feel like the world of sport is ready for this work. So really, and trying to be honest, like open up other opportunities for women in sports. So to answer your question about my yoga curriculum, I certify different practitioners from around the world. And sometimes getting into the landscape of sport is very difficult if you're a physical therapist or a strength and conditioning coach. There's so many people trying to do that. But with this space, this is all I've done for 20 years, is worked specifically in high performance with athletes. And so the program is the best that it's ever been. And really, we don't have competition because no one else has been doing it this long. And so if I can open other opportunities for other people who want to work in high performance, whatever that is, amazing, right? Like, it's like sharing the information. I have these coaches that are also changing lives. So the more that I can trickle down and teach people this and give other, practitioners, people who have influence on people, and I say this to my coaches and anybody who works in the space where you have people to motivate, inspire, coach, you need to take your job very seriously because you are responsible for the outcome, right? And so I tell my coaches all the time, don't take one session with one person lightly. You have an opportunity to change somebody's life every single time you coach them.
I love that.
Yeah. And
we're excited to push you out into the world. Like, selfishly, I'm like already in my head thinking about all the people I want to connect you to, but we'll do that offline. And
thank you guys. This was so fun.
We're grateful.
Yeah.
We're grateful you're here. We're going to rock and roll tomorrow. You're going to crush it.
Thank you guys. So
Thank you for coming.